Hey guys, tonight we take a leisurely stroll through the ancient streets of Subura, a bustling neighborhood in the heart of Rome, just as the first light of dawn spills over the rooftops. Imagine the sounds of an awakening city, with the air thick with the familiar blend of brick dust and sour, lingering smells that define this vibrant place. It's a wonder anyone got any sleep with the noise and chaos promising that you probably won't survive this. Yet somehow people did. Almost 1 million Romans cram inside these ancient city walls, defying modern ideas of urban planning. While historians argue whether the apartment blocks could legally reach 5 stories, we imagine them towering 6 or 7, stretching towards the heavens. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is over there. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself weaving through the narrow alleys of Subura, with its bustling energy palpable even at this early hour. The cobblestones beneath your sandals seem almost alive, warming swiftly as the sun begins to climb over the city. The cacophony of sounds pulls you in all directions, the clatter of vendors setting up shop, the distant shouts of a fruit seller, the melodic cry of a street musician tuning his lyre. The air is a heady mix of aromas. Freshly baked bread mingles with the robust tang of wine, and more prominently, the earthy undertone of the city's less savory smells. These are the smells of a city awakening alive with the promises of the day. As you navigate this maze of humanity, you catch sight of towering insulae, the ancient apartment buildings. Their silhouettes stand in defiance against the morning sky. Though the height of these residential behemoths is a subject of debate among scholars, you can't help but imagine them as imposing giants, their upper floors reaching out to touch the clouds. Historians still debate whether these structures were capped at 5 stories by law, but here among Subura's crowded lanes, the number seems hardly steadfast. You pass by a group of children playing a game with small stones, their laughter echoing against the walls of the alley. Playful and carefree, they seem entirely at home within the confines of these ancient city streets. Beside them, a vendor hawks his goods, tirelessly calling out to potential customers. His stall is filled with bundles of fresh herbs, their pungent scent momentarily overpowering the less pleasant odors lingering in the humid morning air. As you wander deeper into this vibrant district, you overhear the murmurs of neighbors exchanging gossip snippets of another's scandalous news drifting your way. It's in these exchanges you get a sense of the community's heartbeat throbbing with whispers and hushed voices, the lifeblood of this ancient neighborhood. Among the familiar calls, you unexpectedly stumble upon a rather unusual sight, a small makeshift shrine nestled within a narrow alcove. At first glance, it appears unassuming, but on closer inspection, the carefully arranged offerings become apparent. Coins, rolled leaves, and an assortment of other tokens surround a diminutive statue of Fortuna, goddess of fortune. There's something charmingly haphazard about this shrine, and as you gaze at it, a neighborhood elder stops next to you, noticing your curiosity. She casually informs you that though such shrines appear randomly, they're cherished spots across the city symbols of hope and offerings made to sway fate in one's favor. Lost in thought, you feel a gentle pulse of the city underneath your feet, as though it's breathing. This is life inside the Servian walls, a vast swelling of humanity crammed together, yet continuing to thrive throughout centuries. The dawn light catches the rising dust kicked up by carriages rumbling lazily down the main thoroughfare. It's a chaotic dance of movement. Some are heading to market, others to the forum, and perhaps a few aimless wanderers like yourself. All around, Subura pulsates with life. Its intricate tapestry is woven from the stories of those who bustle through its streets. Tomorrow the same sun will rise, the same smells will greet it, and the same streets will flow with people. But for now, this single moment hangs suspended in the still of satin morning air. With every step you feel more attuned to the ancient rhythms, tapping out their secrets, whispering tales of yesterday that feed into the promise of a new day, inviting you to uncover more mysteries of this timeless city. Your steps are quick and nimble as you navigate the bustling alleys of ancient Rome. The narrow pathways are alive with energy and teeming with the day's activities. Everywhere you look, there's a whirlwind of sights and sounds that demands your attention. You sidestep a slow-moving mule cart, its driver hollering in a language both strange and musical. The heavy wooden wheels clatter against uneven cobblestones, sending up small clouds of dust. Just as you regain your bearings, you find yourself ducking under a rogue splash of water carelessly tossed from a window above. With a splash, the water lands millimeters away from where you stand, leaving a glistening puddle that chips away at the ancient stones beneath. Rumor has it that sometimes it's fishmongers who fling not only water, but also leftover scales and fish guts out into the narrow streets. Life here, as you'd soon discover, requires a certain vigilance and adaptability. The bustling street is a tapestry of diverse characters, each thread uniquely colorful. Bakers hustle to sell their fresh, warm loaves, their hands dusty with flour, but kind eyes peeking through the haze. There's a smell of yeasty bread in the air, mingling with aromatic herbs and charred meats from the stalls that line the road. You catch a tantalizing whiff that makes you ponder the etiquette of nibbling some without buying, just to quiet your curiosity. And maybe your stomach. Not far from the bakers, small clusters of people gather, throwing dice and wagering fortunes that sometimes amount to nothing more than a few bronze coins. Eager onlookers cheer for Lady Luck, their voices rising and falling with each roll. Amongst these gamblers, a thief or two moves skillfully, their eyes sharp and hands quicker than a striking snake. You're glad you've kept your pouch safely tucked away, just like you learned from that Roman merchant back at the Forum. As you walk, you're increasingly aware of the crown of the road, how the center is slightly elevated, curving down to the sides, an ingenious Roman invention to allow rainwater to drain away and keep more of the path dry. However, despite the elegant design trash and refuse quite unsavory in nature, ends up littering the sides, tossed from windows by residents who find it more convenient than caring. Scholars often debate whether fines and penalties for such dumping were effectively enforced or largely ignored in practice. The answer seems as elusive as finding a street in Rome that doesn't carry the aroma of 1,000 living stories. Despite its disarray, or perhaps because of it, the streets hold a certain charm that draws you further in. You find yourself considering how, under different circumstances, the very same streets might transform, under moonlight serene and silent, a different personality entirely. Until then, the day continues a symphony of chaos and order, woven with laughter and shouts, the rhythm dictated by the footfalls of countless souls. There is beauty in the unpredictability, a warmth in the chaos, a certain coziness that unfurls the longer you meander. Even amid the muddle, there's something soothing about knowing it's all part of the story, a tale as old as these cobblestones themselves, still being written beneath your feet. As you make your way up the narrow creaking stairs of the Insula, you can almost hear whispers from the past echoing with each cautious step. These stairs have a history, just like the room you're slowly approaching. It's as if the wood has absorbed stories of people long gone, now softly sharing them with you step by step in the cool evening light. You push open a worn door to enter a room that's smaller than an elevator, a space so tight it feels almost like a secret hideaway. This is where the city's poor lived packed into the Insula's higher floors. In ancient Rome, the more affluent occupied the lower levels, avoiding precarious climbs and the fluctuations in temperature. You can imagine how the sun would bake the top floors in relentless summers, or how they would offer little resistance against the biting cold of winter. Yet, despite the discomfort, the people who lived here found ways to cope. Some relied on small clay heaters, known as foculi. Picture these simple yet ingenious creations, little pots filled with heated stones or coals, casting a soft glow in dark corners. A marvelous invention, though not without its risks. Fires became a fearful concern in the densely packed buildings, leading to complete bans on their use. However, as you stand here shivering at the thought of a winter without warmth, you wonder how strictly those bans were enforced. Historians still debate how effectively the rules were followed in practice, or if the temptation of warmth triumphed over regulations. You take a moment to imagine life. In this cramped room, the faint scent of bread or stews, bubbling perhaps even an occasional whiff of incense, meant to mask less pleasant aromas. The occupants would have known every inch of this space, intimately learning how to store their sparse belongings in creative ways, just like the Tetris-like furnishing solutions you might use in your small apartment today. Yet despite its limits, there's a certain charm here. The walls, if they could speak, would tell tales of laughter shared, secrets whispered, and dreams dreamt under the same moon you see. You can't help but feel a pulse of connection to the humanity that once thrived amidst such humble surroundings. It's easy to romanticize the simplicity, but living here wouldn't have been easy. Perhaps the few who looked out from these windows at night dreamed of the vibrant life in the streets below, the lively marketplaces, bustling with chatter and the music of street performers. Life outside promised excitement, but also required its own resilience. These walls, thin and weathered as they might be, offered a form of shelter and community. Continuing your mental journey, you ponder whether families huddled together here, sharing tales of gods and heroes, stories handed down through generations. Maybe in some quiet corner by candlelight, an inspired mind struck upon an idea that would ripple through time, subtly shaping the world you know today. With the vision of the creaky steps and the bundled warmth of a clay focalus in your mind's eye, you understand that these small, bustling rooms were once the beating heart of ancient urban life, holding untold stories of endurance and innovation. And just like that, this insula, standing resolute over centuries, becomes not just a relic from the past, but a testament to the enduring spirit of those who have called it home. As you awaken to the gentle light slipping through the narrow windows of your ancient Roman home, you're greeted by the familiar scent of breakfast wafting from the kitchen. Today, like most days, it's barley porridge, seasoned with garum, a pungent fish sauce that Roman society somehow revered as a culinary treasure. Rich, salty, and unlike anything you've ever tasted, this sauce adds an unexpected depth to your otherwise humble morning meal. You wonder how many generations have started their day with this breakfast, and whether their noses crinkled from its strong scent too. Historians still debate whether garum's unchanging popularity was due to its unique flavor, or simply because it was such an effective preservative, borne out by countless amphorae whose residues have survived millennia to tell us their fat little secrets. You absent-mindedly scrape the bottom of your bowl, with your spoon, your mind wandering to why certain batches of this sauce were dyed. Clever but unscrupulous merchants sometimes mixed crushed walnut shells into cheaper versions, creating a deceivingly rich color that fooled more than a few unsuspecting buyers. You can't help but chuckle at the thought of all those stuffy senators unknowingly drenching their fine meals with diluted fish sauce. As you sit back savoring the last spoonful, you hear the recognizable pitter-patter of tiny feet scurrying across the ceiling's wooden beams. Ah yes, the rats. It seems they have taken quite a liking to your rafters, a not-so-charming testament to life in an ancient city. You've heard tales that the Roman penchant for storing grain attracted these endless waves of unwanted guests. But the rats, clever as they might be, have found themselves facing a rather eternal foe. For in this household, cats have become prized for more than their enigmatic companionship. They are revered and rewarded for their skill in pest control. You watch with moderate amusement as one of your family's feline friends slinks gracefully along the room's edge, eyes keenly darting toward the ceiling. This age-old dance between cat and rat has unfolded countless times across the empire, a natural solution to an equally natural problem, and one that has earned the cats a cherished place in many homes. Contemplating your breakfast and its pungent glory, you realize the blend of commonplace and surprising details that define daily Roman life. The unfurling of each day had its victories captured in the form of a successful cat hunt, or the rich taste of a properly aged garum sauce with just the right amount of peculiar punch. As you lean back, still smirking at the walnut shell trick, and inhaling the aroma of yesterday's clean air, you can't help but appreciate the intricacies and peculiarities of this ancient world, woven into every aspect of its day-to-day existence. You've finished your porridge, and the world beyond your window continues its rhythmic pace. Inviting aromas and tales of history mingle in your mind, lulling you back into a peaceful state of reflection. Eventually, you'll need to step out into the bustling streets of Rome. But for now, basking in the simplicity of this peculiar yet comforting morning routine, you find both amusement and solace in these small, unexpected stories of life from long ago. The city roars all day, a living, breathing organism made of stone and sound. As you wander through the bustling streets, the symphony of life envelops you. Smiths hammer away, their rhythmic clanging, a hypnotic heartbeat echoing throughout the city. Nearby donkeys bray their voices, weaving into the chaotic harmony of the marketplace. Hawkers shout tirelessly their calls, rising above the din, as they try to outdo one another, their voices edged with the sharpness of desperation and livelihood. There are no glass windows to contain the clamor. Instead, only wooden shutters hang lazily flapping open, like lazy eyelids in the heat of the day. They offer no barrier to the endless symphony of city life, letting the sounds pour into homes and shops with reckless abandon. Some people say the Colosseum amplifies these echoes. Its vast arches and intricate design, some argue, were as much about sound as spectacle. Historians still debate whether the arena was intended to carry the roar of the crowd to the distant reaches of the city, or if it was merely a happy accident of architectural ambition. Yet despite the perpetual racket filling your ears, this noise becomes a strange comfort. It's the pulse of the city, a constant companion in your daily life. The din welcomes you into its fold, like a warm, noisy embrace that promises you belong, no matter how transient your stay might be. You pause to close your eyes momentarily, letting the cacophony wash over you. Just then, a cochlea rattling yell from a particularly enthusiastic vegetable vendor snatches you back into the present. You smile to yourself, imagining what it would be like to live in the countryside where silence reigns unchecked. But then who would sing you to sleep amidst the whisper of leaves? Amidst the sensory overload, you notice the intricacies of the city's life unfolding like a play. There's a child chasing a stray cat, laughter bubbling in his wake. A baker pauses between kneading loaves to lean out of her window, caught in a muted serenade of exchanged pleasantries with the fruit seller below. You nod a greeting to the couple who pass you. Their faces flush with the warmth of the sun and each other's company. A glimpse towards the city's heart reveals the towering arches of the Colosseum. There it stands, an architectural wonder of the world, a testament to the creativity and cruelty of humankind. You've heard the tales, whispered beneath the glow of campfires and shouted across taverns, how the cheers of thousands could once drown out the heartbeats of men and beasts alike. Some claim that lush sails, once draped overhead, retractable to shield spectators from the merciless sun, a marvel that historians still sketch with pencils and call uncertain. The air is alive with adventure and whispers of stories yet to be told. You wonder what secrets these stones could tell if they were granted the gift of speech. With each step, you brush against the endless stories of the people who have traveled these worn cobblestones before you. It's as if their spirits still drift on the winds, mingling with the city's breath as they linger in its paths. In the midst of this gentle chaos, you feel a sense of tranquility. The city, with all its noise and exuberance, lulls you into a calm, steady rhythm. It's as though the very pandemonium that should unsettle you instead rocks you into a state of serene acceptance. Here amongst the noise and people, you're not just an observer. You're a participant. It's an orchestra, and you've become attuned to its score, playing your part in the grand composition of life. Time here is as fluid as the river, inexorably moving forward, yet tantalizingly slow in its passage. A distant bell chimes, marking another hour, gone a small reminder that while the world spins, you are exactly where you need to be. This vibrant city with its unmatched symphony provides a soundtrack to your life's adventure. As dusk starts to creep along the rooftops, casting shadows of weary tranquility, you know that soon the city will settle into a different rhythm. Street lamps will sputter to life, casting warm pools of light onto the cobblestones. The shutters will creak closed, and families will gather inside their laughter, sewing new melodies into the fabric of the night. Though the city's roar will hush somewhat, it will never truly sleep. It hums softly like a lullaby, a promise that life will continue its vibrant dance, even under the watchful gaze of the moon. And as you prepare for rest, cocooned in the city's embrace, the echoes of the day lull you into dreams of the stories yet to unfold, serenaded by the strange, wonderful comfort of the city's heartbeat. You feel a subtle itch beginning to scratch at the edges of your mind like a gentle nudge, reminding you that no matter the comforts of the evening lice, we're a part of life in these times. It's an odd sensation, unsettling, yet strangely intriguing to be aware of such close companions residing in the crevices of society's history. As you glide through this world, you become acutely aware of the continuous, mutual relationship humanity held with these tiny irritants. Each scratch inflames the scalp, making you wince slightly, a small price for living in a world before modern conveniences. Lice, those uninvited guests, would itch their way into every corner of life, bringing more than discomfort. They carried with them secrets hidden within the nuisances of history. Nearby, a network of sewers whispers tales best left unheard of in polite conversation. It's remarkable, almost unprecedented, the way knowledge is dredged up from the depths of ancient waterways. The DNA drifting through these long-forgotten channels confirms what we now know to be true. Traces of typhoid fever, remnants of parasites journeying between their hosts. It's a story uncovered from a grimy underworld telling of diseases waiting to seize any opportunity at the next scratch of an agitated scalp. Yet not all remedies were crafted from potions or medical lore. There was talk of lamp wicks, their fibers soaked indulgently in cedar oil, a practice meant to repel fleas and perhaps even the lice that plagued everyday existence. Though this idea whispers promises of relief, historical accounts hesitate at the curb of certainty. Was it wishful thinking, a grasp at hope in an infested world? Or did the warm automatic glow truly fend off those relentless foes? Historians muse over these curious attempts at pest control, this soaked wick, offering solace in kerosene-lit rooms, casting shadows on the walls, like glimpsing the ephemeral solidity of dreams. Like many things of the past, it remains wrapped in debate, hovering between the folds of myth and reality, just as the lice lingered between scalp and sky, unseen yet omnipresent. You catch yourself scratching again, feeling the ghostly presence of those historical lice playing upon your imagination. It's a contemplative itch, linking you ever so slightly to the past, a past where every scratch symbolized a potential for more than discomfort. With each thoughtful drag of nails upon skin, you ponder how society danced with these diminutive partners forever intertwined in the ballroom of daily survival. Perhaps in the dim light of those evenings long ago, the air filled with the scent of burning cedar people found a momentary comfort, a reprieve from the itches of life laid bare through tiny invaders. Who can say for certain? The shadows of history play tricks on the mind, drawing your thoughts back to the ceaseless intrigues hidden in time's margins. And here in this cozy blend of history and imagination, you ease into deeper contemplation, letting the night's story weave its comforting spell as you drift toward slumber. All around you, the world of the past wraps softly around the edges of your awareness like a warm, historical cocoon. The sense of uncertainty only adds to the mystery, inviting you into its depths, where you find that even the smallest details tell the grandest stories. As the lamp's light slowly fades, carrying with it the worries of itch and disease, you allow yourself to sink further into that peaceful, timeless embrace. When you close your eyes, you find yourself transported to the bustling, energetic heart of ancient Rome. The streets are alive with the clamor of merchants, the laughter of children, and the occasional heated debate about politics or philosophy. Your senses are filled with the rich aroma of baked bread and the earthy scent of nearby vineyards. The stone streets are warm beneath your feet, and the sun bathes everything in a golden light. Yet beneath this lively facade, danger lurks in the form of a single, seemingly innocuous spark. You're standing in Subura, an area renowned for its crowded, narrow alleys and wooden buildings packed tightly together. In the year AD 64, it took only a fraction of a second for the unthinkable to happen, a small flame that caught hold and quickly spread, feeding hungrily on the dry wood. You can't help but feel that if you were truly here, you probably wouldn't survive this awry thought that a place so vibrant could turn perilous in an instant. But fear not. With a deep breath, you remind yourself you're safe and cozy where you are. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're joining in from and what time it is there. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. As the flames licked at the edges of Subura, you can almost see the panic, the hurried footsteps of people scrambling to save their homes and families. It was in response to disasters like this that Augustus, with a forward-thinking mind, laid the groundwork for the Vigiles, the world's first known fire brigade. These resilient individuals would patrol the city armed with leather buckets, filled not just with water, but also with a surprising find vines gathered from local fields to help smother flames. It's a peculiar image, isn't it? The thought of them buckets sloshing as they ran ready to take on this unpredictable adversary with little more than determination. Imagine their stoic faces as they navigated these serpentine alleyways while smoke curled overhead, intent on containing the blaze. Despite their efforts and ingenuity, one can't help but ponder the limitations they faced. Historians still debate whether they were truly effective in those narrow, flammable lanes, or if they, like the rest of Subura's residents, were scrambling more than they were saving. It's a curious consideration, a reminder of the tireless and sometimes thankless work done in the name of protection. Envision the scene as buckets were passed hand to hand, a well-practiced rhythm, almost like a silent dance. The Vigiles moved in unison, hoping against hope for a favorable wind. And yet there existed within them a quiet resilience that belied their odds. It was perhaps in this moment, as you take another deep breath, that you understand the essence of their ceaseless duty. Against the odds, you're swept up by this scene, traveling along with them in spirit as they race through smoke-filled streets. Their lives, much like yours, were filled with unexpected challenges and moments of rising to meet them. As the flames finally begin to die down and the chaos recedes, like the tide you feel a soft lull envelop the city. In the coolness of the night, the Subura stands anew, scarred yet intact, a testament to the tenacity of those who dared to dance with fire. There's a serene quiet now, a peacefulness that sways you gently toward rest. Beneath the stars, the buzz of day fades into a tranquil hum. Even in Rome's narrow wooden obstacles, life finds a way to persist, edging towards tomorrow, much like a soft breeze carrying tales of the past into dreams. As the city's heartbeat slows, so too does yours, aligning with ancient rhythms as the story lulls you to sleep. Feel the gentle embrace of night as it cushions you, guiding you to a peaceful slumber filled with tales of resilience and courage. With a gentle hum in the background, you find yourself in a lively and ancient city where aqueducts soar above bustling streets. These remarkable feats of engineering channel crystal clear water to every corner of this thriving metropolis. Each day, they tirelessly transport an astounding 200 million gallons, making the fountains sing joyously with their gurgling melodies. Soon, you wander into a plaza where the people gather. It is a vibrant tapestry of life. You see traders setting up their stalls and whispers of deals yet to be made sprinkle the air. But beneath this lively scene lies a truth about antiquity, resources even as abundant as water, delivered by those awe-inspiring aqueducts, are not equally accessible to all. The early dawn reveals a line of weary figures, their silhouettes etched by the first light. These are the city's less fortunate who wake before the sun to stake their place, ensuring they too might taste the waters that fall so freely for others. As you watch them patiently wait, you marvel at their resilience, an unyielding spirit often overlooked in tales of grand conquest and emperor's glory. Among them are children lively and full of mischief, darting about with the playful energy only the young possess. It's known that they often cannot resist the allure of the fountain's cool embrace. They jump and splash in the basins, their laughter creating ripples that dance on the water's surface. However, this indulgence doesn't come without a price. It's whispered among the populace that such antics, despite their innocent joy, sometimes lead to fines or stern reprimands from ever-watchful guards. As you explore further, you walk the cobbles, glistening with fresh water, underfoot your mind drifting to the lead pipes snaking beneath the city. It's these very conduits that deliver the aqueduct's precious cargo to far reaches of this ancient hub. Yet there's a darker side whispered by scholars today. Lead ever present in those pipes has left a mark on history long after the city fell to ruin. You wonder how many bones, now entombed in ancient soil, hold traces of this lead, a silent testimony to the engineering marvels and the unseen consequences of progress. Historians still debate the extent to which this heavy metal influenced the decline of such civilizations. Was it a mere trivial aspect of life, overshadowed by war and politics, or did it subtly shape the health and vitality of those who ruled and lived in these storied streets? As with much of history, the truth lies shrouded in the mists of time, a puzzle that invites curious minds to seek answers, even if we may never fully uncover it. Yet here you are, amidst the past brought to vivid life through the mind's eye. The debate on safe exposure levels of lead in those days flutters through your thoughts like a soft-winged creature, reminding you of the ever-present balance between human ingenuity and nature's immutable rules. As day gives way to night, casting long shadows and bathing the city in a serene glow, you can almost hear the fountains still gurgling softly, soothing the day's toil with their perpetual song. This time, history is your gentle guide, whispering secrets of old. As you feel the lure of sleep pulling you into its embrace, much like the city itself, once welcomed fresh water, sustaining life with each careful drop. You squat in a communal latrine, a place buzzing with both the remnants of day-to-day living and the storied echoes of the past. The squat position is a reminder of how some things persist through time, much like the ancient Romans, who believed that hygiene was next to godliness. In these latrines, though, they've swapped your modern comforts for sponge sticks, a tool that Romans might recognize, seeing as they innovated similar implements for cleanliness. You might wonder how often those sponges are cleaned. Historians still debate whether there was a routine for replacing such necessities, or if it was up to whoever dared enter next. As you balance precariously, your gaze wanders to the graffiti etched into the ancient stone. In a twilight of both humor and critique, these marks serve as a timeless record of human interaction. They mock others' hygiene, question latrine etiquette, and perhaps tell tales of past visitors, just as those in ancient Roman baths did millennia ago. The whispers of history envelop you as you find yourself part of a tradition far older than you originally thought. Yet the combination of stench and noise grows overwhelming as the chorus of distant voices blends with the mechanics of daily rituals. There's something about the human capacity for gross environments, a shared hardship that somehow feels universal. And in this you find a strange kinship with those ancient Romans. Deciding you've had enough of this aromatic journey through time, you flee with newfound relief into the open air, leaving behind the cacophony, the sponges, and whatever historical uncertainty lingered in the layers of laughter and scorn etched into the walls. As you inhale the fresh air, unable to shake those vivid impressions, it becomes a mix of amusement and knowledge. There's a gentle, strange contentment in knowing that some aspects of life are shared across ages, just like that goat fat trick for preserving candles, a curious, unlikely harmony between past and present. And just like that, you're pulled into the next part of your journey, ready to uncover more of the curiosities of history, each step accompanied by the comforting hum of stories whispered through the ages. The serene flow of exploration beckons, and with every thoughtful gaze cast at the surrounding world, you settle into the rhythm of time's gentle tide. You step softly upon the old cobblestones, feeling the cool night air wrap around you like a soft blanket. It's a typical evening in the heart of the bustling ancient city, where the stories of markets and the bustling life of common folk paint a vivid yet hazy tapestry. Tonight we find ourselves in front of a small, welcoming wine shop, its wooden signs swinging gently, with the letters barely visible. The comforting aroma of aged wine and freshly baked bread fills the air as you stand broom in hand poised at the doorway. This place, with its rustic charm and lively patrons, is a hub of stories and secrets. Not far from here, drunk gamblers laugh heartily, their pockets lighter and their spirits high. You've been told the tales of their nights, loud, boisterous affairs where fortunes are often lost over misjudged rolls of dice and dubious card games. Yet your task is simple: sweep the doorstep, creating an inviting path for those who seek solace and camaraderie within these walls. As you begin sweeping, brushing the day's dust and scattered remnants of the marketplace, you can't help but ponder the curious choices of shopkeepers. It was not uncommon for them to pay rent with goods rather than coin. Bread or oil, rich in flavor and practical in use, often served as currency in this vibrant community. Imagine trading a basket of fragrant loaves for a month's stay in a quaint, humble abode, an arrangement that speaks volumes of the value placed on essential commodities. However, amidst this honest trade and camaraderie, the subtle touch of uncertainty weaves through your mind like a spool unraveling. Some of these shopkeepers, wary of the shady undercurrent that thrummed beneath the city's more genial facade, resorted to securing their wares with sturdy chains. Amphorae filled to the brim with fine vintages were often anchored to counters to thwart potential thieves. A pragmatic choice in a city where theft was as common as the evening breeze, yet how widespread these practices were remains shrouded in mystery. Your broom's rhythmic movement gives way to contemplation, The sweep of the bristles echoes stories from the past, stories left untold and buried under layers of dust. It's fascinating, isn't it, to imagine these shopkeepers, each choice they made, each transaction settled in food or by the clink of a chain, all contributing to the vast, intricate mosaic of ancient life. One can't help but wonder what tales could be spun from these everyday occurrences, stories lost to time yet rooted deeply in the cobblestones beneath your feet. As you complete your task, you pause for a moment, letting the coolness of the night seeping into your skin calm your wanderlust thoughts. Perhaps just like tonight's small glimpse into the lives beyond the wine shop's door, we'll never truly know how these practices intertwined with the lives of those who walked these streets. Much like history itself, it's a patchwork of fact and mystery stitched with the threads of human experience. And so, with a final sweeping motion, your tasks for the evening complete, you allow yourself to lean back, rest against the stone wall, and gaze at the street, watching as shadows of the past tiptoe quietly through the city's heartbeat. The gambler's laughter fades into the night, leaving behind whispers of tonight's tales, yet to be spun into the annals of history. Where you end up next is anyone's guess, but for now, you're just content to let the quiet embrace of the ancient city lull you into rest, joining the many who've drifted to the rhythm of life's subtle lullabies. Children scampered on cobbled streets, their laughter echoing like a symphony of wind chimes dancing in the breeze. Their bare feet padded against the warm stones as they chased simple wooden hoops, rolling them with sticks or their nimble fingers, each child fully absorbed in the merry chaos. The air buzzed with energy and innocence, casting a magical spell across the sprawling Roman metropolis. As you watch their joy, you are reminded that about 30% of the Roman population were under the age of 15. Remarkably youthful, this ancient city was teeming with the sounds of children, their voices a constant backdrop to the daily bustle. Nearby street vendors called out to passers-by their carts, laden with various treats. Among these was a peculiar snack-honeyed locusts. Yes, that's right, locusts. Those little jumping insects were considered a cheap and tasty treat. Drenched in sweet, sticky honey, these crunchy morsels were surprisingly popular. Whether this choice delight was subject to taxation, however, remains an unanswered question. Historians still puzzle over the details of such quaint aspects of Roman commerce. The delighted shrieks of children mingling with the calls of vendors created an atmosphere akin to a lively fair. The simple joys of youth were infinite in their possibilities, just like the endless horizon stretching beyond the city's walls. As you drift deeper into this vibrant scene, it becomes a world where shadows grow long and the sun casts its final glow over the rooftops. As the sun sets, the bustling sounds of the city begin to quieten, and the shadows grow longer and deeper. You find yourself wandering the narrow streets of ancient Rome, where history waits to be unearthed in the flickering torchlight. The air is warm and cool at the same time, with an undeniable hint of mystery. It's the time when pickpockets come alive, their presence as much a part of the city as the ancient stones under your feet. The poet Juvenal once penned vivid warnings about daggers in the dark, and while you stroll, you wonder about the truth in his words. The streets of the Subura are infamous, filled with winding alleys that hide secrets in their twists and turns. Local gangs have taken on the role of guardians here, maintaining their own kind of order. This perhaps explains why the mighty Praetorian Guard avoids this part of the city, leaving it to thrive in a sort of wild autonomy. Your instincts sharpen as you walk deeper into this fascinating world, and you wonder if you would be safe without the knowledge of the city's rhythm. There is an artistry to thievery, as curious as that might sound. It requires knowledge, precision, and uncanny stealth. Imagine the thieves of Subura deftly rubbing ash onto their souls to move silently. They would glide through the shadows with practiced ease, the ash serving as both disguise and tool. Modern scientists have attempted to replicate this curious technique, but with results that vary. The difference perhaps lies in experience and the intimate relationship these ancient pickpockets had with their environment. The stories say that at this hour, you can almost hear the whispers of the past if you listen closely enough. Each crack in the wall and uneven cobblestone underfoot might hold secrets tightly embraced by time. It's a reminder that history is not just something you read. It's alive, breathing through the city in ways both seen and unseen. There's an unusual camaraderie between the inhabitants of these streets. Maybe it's the way adversity has knit them together, or how shared secrets can form bonds stronger than daylight allows. In the heart of Subura, the ordinary is interwoven with the extraordinary in fascinating harmony. Even in the depths of shadow life here, pulses with a vibrant rhythm of its own. The night falls, bringing with it a cloak of velvet darkness that settles over the city. The temperature drops slightly, but it's not unpleasant. Your mind plays with the idea that as quaint as these stories of pickpockets and gang rules may be, there's something reassuring in knowing that certain elements of human nature remain constant through the ages. Perhaps it's that very constancy that makes this history feel so close, so relatable. Despite the lowering light, you see clearly mental images of ancient Rome crafted by the narratives of historians. Yet even they can't agree on every single detail, leaving tantalizing gaps ripe for speculation. Was the Subura truly as wild as rumors suggest? Did pickpockets here wield daggers? Or was their craft quieter, less conspicuous? The uncertainty adds layers to the narrative curtain that veils the past. The distant sound of laughter mingles with the gentle hum of the city settling in for the night, a melody that harmonizes with the tales you're discovering. Your steps are soft, your mind alight with the reflections of another time. Here amidst the very old and the eternally new, you find a calmness, a peculiar kind of peace. As you wander, you'll notice how the shadows seem to play tricks, almost as if guiding you in a deliberate dance through history's tapestry. You think of those thieves, their clever tactics, and the ash-blackened souls whispering along the stones. How often do they glide past unnoticed and free while the world around them slept unaware? There's a certain intimacy you find while exploring under the quiet watch of night. The Subura might be silent now, but its stories echo in the air, just waiting for someone like you to come and listen. With a chuckle, you realize that in some way, you are part of the story to another character in this living history. And as the night deepens, you continue this serene walk through time, feeling the past and present entwine around you, softly blurring the lines of their histories. The dark wood of the tavern is warm and inviting a sanctuary from the chill outside, where the fire blazes comfortably. Smoke curls lazily in the air, its sweet charred scent mingling with ale and laughter. You find yourself in the corner of this cozy, bustling inn, seated among a crowd of spirited faces. Their eyes twinkle under lamplight, every expression a myriad of hopes, dreams, and perhaps regrets cast in shadow. The rhythmic clatter of dice on well-worn tables punctuates the murmur of conversation like the tender heartbeat of this hidden world. You watch as a hand throws a set with casual precision, the dice tumbling, spinning, settling. Triple sixes stare back like auspicious beacons. Here in this gentle cacophony, rolling 3 sixes marks a stroke of luck, a sign of fortune smiling down on the bold gambler. It's an irony not lost on you that these same numbers elsewhere are whispered of with caution, associated with omens and ill fate. It seems the very world spins differently in the secluded glow of this tavern. Amidst the mirthful boasts and jesting jabs, you notice the figures that linger cloaked in smoke and reverie. Among them, a magistrate relaxes his wig, slightly askew, and an easy smile playing on his face. Here, even those who speak the law step from their pedestals to roll the dice, indulging in the thrill of uncertainty. How curious you think that these pieces of bone and ivory could hold such sway over the lives of men and women alike. Historians, in their scholarly solitude, often debate when exactly this turn from caution to exuberance occurred. Was it some great game, or a fateful night lost to both time and memory, when luck became paramount, leaving the sinister connotations of triple sixes to other tales and legends? You lean back, feeling the sturdy wood against your back, and close your eyes for a moment. The dice roll again, a soothing cadence their path across the scarred tabletops, rhythmical and unhurried. It's a sound that could lull you into dreaming were it not for the vibrant discussions that paint colorful stories around you. For instance, a roguish character at a nearby table recounts an odd tale, quite surprising of a noble, who wagered an entire fleet on the roll of these dice. Heads nod appreciatively, a mix of admiration and disbelief, as though the possibility alone makes it real. The very idea of tangible riches, carried on the breath of chance, seems both reckless and unfathomably grand. In these surroundings, the academic ponderings and the speculative histories weave themselves right into the fabric of the evening. There's often a fine line between legend and fact, and in the haze of this room, they blur delightfully. It's almost winter outside, but here time itself is cradled like the gentle rocking of a cradle, each gamble, each roll a lullaby of whims. The dice are coaxed once more, a soft rattle against rough palms, and you find an unexpected peace in their random fate-making. The tavern's ambiance shelters you, the lessons of history melting softly into the warmth. Perhaps that's how stories such as these are meant to be told, gently spinning from the lips of an unlikely historian who sways with the rhythm of the dice and the smoke plumes above. In this place, suspended almost timelessly, it's easy to let go of all the rules you've known, the expectations that bind the day under the sun. For here in the dim glow, luck is a fickle queen worshipped not for her constancy, but for her capriciousness, and the whimsical notion that around the next turn, fortunes can rise like the crackling blaze against the chill. The flicker of candlelight casts a soft, warm glow across the tiny shrine set neatly in the corner of your home. This is one of the Lairs Shrine's guardians of the household in Roman culture. You notice how the delicate clay figures lean slightly forward as if eagerly listening to the whispered secrets of the family they protect. Their benevolent expressions seem to tell you everything will be all right, even as they remain frozen in serene silence. Tonight you carefully lay offerings of ripe figs and fresh garlands at their feet. The fig's sweet aroma fills the air, blending with a hint of floral notes from the garlands. There's something timeless about these gestures, an unbroken thread that stretches back through centuries of history, tethering you to those ancient Roman homes. Here's a fun fact. Back in those days, Romans believed these benevolent spirits watched over both private affairs and the public happiness. And who's to say this isn't true? Historians still debate whether the belief in Lares came purely from Roman roots or blended seamlessly with the mysticism of Eastern cults that slowly infiltrated Roman practices. It's a colorful past shrouded in mystery, much like the dim light wrapping around these clay guardians now. You glance round the room, taking in the way the red vermilion paint brightens each wall. The Romans knew their aesthetics. Vermilion was not only a preferred choice for its vividness, but also for its supposed protective properties. At one time, it was believed to ward off evil and invite prosperity. Maybe that's why you find comfort in these fiery walls, reminiscent of the sun's embrace at the peak of the day. Funny, isn't it? The lengths we go to feel secure in our own homes, not unlike the ancient homeowners with their fig offerings. Today's equivalent might just be the rabbit's foot or a well-placed family heirloom. As the candlelight plays tricks casting shadows that dance like an ancient ritual across the room, you ponder how much mythos can seep into real life. Did those Romans find solace as you do, watching the gentle flickers illuminate their lairs, creating a quiet, sacred space shared only with the gods? You almost expect those clay faces to nod slightly, as if sharing in your contemplation. Or perhaps it's the play of shadows teasing you with the possibility of movement. Maybe the true magic rests in these small everyday acts that hold centuries of history within their grasp. You find yourself thinking of the improbable mix that created the rich tapestry of Roman belief systems, a multicultural blend so intriguing that perhaps even back then folks might have included tales of dragons and far-off lands just to spice up a dull evening. After all, the Romans were known explorers and traders, while Eastern mysticism brought vibrant stories and new philosophies that wove seamlessly into existing traditions. It's the kind of uncertainty that keeps historians and maybe even you guessing. You lean back into your chair, your gaze softened by the gentle glow and the comforting aroma of figs. The soothing hum of an evening in ancient Rome descends upon you, relaxing in its simplicity, yet profound in its depth. This connection to an ancient past feels like a secret. Only the Lars and you share as you wander through the day's last thoughts before surrendering to sleep. You step into the bustling bathhouse, your delicate sandals making a soft patter against the worn stone floor. With just a single quadrans, a fraction of a day's earnings, you gain entry into this timeless haven of warmth and water. Around you, the air is alive with the soft murmurs of conversation and the gentle splashes of water echoing from marble pools. As you make your way inside, you're greeted by a melange of fragrances wafting through the air. It seems the bathhouse drains are slow to conceal their secrets, slowly releasing the heady scents of lavender, the invigorating aroma of myrtle, and the exotic hint of cinnamon. These scents intermingle, creating a calming embrace that encircles you as you proceed deeper within. As you wander through the various chambers, a sense of relaxation begins to envelop you. The bathhouse, a staple of Roman social life, presents an unexpected treasure of its own. There, gleaming under the soft light filtering through the high windows, you catch sight of rare glass strigils, sleeker and more fragile than the typical bronze ones. You're used to seeing these elegant tools speak of both luxury and a certain audacious novelty. Scholars, with their airs of academic conjecture, often suggest these glass variations cropped up merely as trendy novelties, much like the fleeting vogues of today. Standing among stone pillars and watching the steam rise in delicate swirls, you're simultaneously amused and intrigued by the eccentricities of past bathers who might have opted for glass over the tried and true strength of metal. Sure, you'd make it through a bath with a glass strigil, but it's not hard to imagine one slipping through fingers destined to shatter on the stone floor. A bath utensil with the fragility of a morning mist is hardly practical. Historians still debate whether such indulgent quirks reflect the peak of Roman prosperity or the encroaching onset of vanity. But enough of that. Your time here is precious and meant for indulgence, just as it was back then. You allow the thoughts to drift away as you dip your fingers into one of the warm pools, watching how the ripples fan out like whispers touching the edges of the bath's past visitors' stories. How many others before you have cast away daily worries here, nestled within these steamy walls? The room holds more secrets than visible glimpses. Fluent in the language of modesty, the pale limestone retains the sight of sandals and sandal makers, of hurried merchants and languid philosophers alike. Some might say the bathhouse is the epicenter of daily life, and perhaps that's true. Between the whispers of commerce, the silent echoes of power, and the quiet breath of innovation, you realize the bathhouse is where aspirations collide, just like your warm cheek against the cool stone. Here, where daily life intersects with leisure, you ponder the conversations that might have unfolded. Were they about grand political plans, over cups of wine, or perhaps earnest discussions regarding daily bread and simple graces? Much like today, Was their world also filled with contrasts of progress and preservation of wealth and wisdom, of languid dreams and swift departures? These warmed walls might never tell, but you can imagine all the same. Looping back to the scents lingering in the room, the lavender reminds you of stories, tales of its use in embalming, and as a sacred herb in rituals, while the myrtle brings to mind its association with love, and Venus, the Roman goddess, who had quite the reputation herself. As for cinnamon, it's hard not to recall its worth in weight, as precious as gold at times, a seasoning as luxurious as the glass tools you've seen. And with that thought, your imagination starts wandering further until, like a gentle tide, you find yourself lulled into a contagious calm. Each breath inhaling the vestiges of history, each exhalation bringing a sense of unity with times gone past. Your adventure at this bathhouse is far from over. Each sound, scent, and sight builds layer upon layer, crafting a medley of stories within the walls of this ancient sanctuary. But for now, this moment is simply about letting yourself sink into the comfort of it all, knowing that history's waters envelop you just as warmly as the heated pools. The past may be gone, but its reflections ripple towards you, inviting you deeper, even as the details of tomorrow wait patiently outside these fragrant, inviting walls. The flickering shadows dance softly across the rough stone walls, forming strange shapes that slowly lulled your mind into a tranquil state. You find yourself in a bygone era where tallow-scented rushlights cast a warm golden glow. The air is thick with the smell of animal fat used in these simple yet essential candles that provided light to those who needed it most after the sunset. You watch as the molten tallow cools and hardens, turning into the makeshift candles that brought relief to the dim, cramped quarters of the poor. In your journey through this ancient world, oil lamps catch your eye. They are not just simple vessels for light. Their surfaces are adorned with carvings of a surprisingly intimate nature. Scenes of passion decorate the cool, hard surfaces of these lamps, a testament to the human tendency to infuse even the most functional objects with artistry and bold expression. It becomes apparent that in these earlier times, practicality and creativity went hand in hand, even in the most unexpected forms. Historians puzzle over the prevailing attitudes of the time, why such open depictions of intimacy in everyday items. Some suggest it was a nod to the naturalness of life, an unapologetic embrace of human nature. Others argue it was a quiet rebellion against authority, a subtle push for personal freedom in an era where censors turned a blind eye, often ignoring the vibrant undercurrents running through the poorer districts. Life was different here, less constrained by prying eyes and verdicts issued from on high. As you soak in your surroundings, the shadows cast by the candlelight begin to sway, moving with an almost primordial rhythm against the humble walls. The dance of light and shadow calms you, almost like watching clouds roll lazily across a summer sky. It's like a cradle nurturing your thoughts and dreams, rocking you into a sense of safety and warmth amidst the flickering glow. It's quite the spectacle, this interplay of light that feels like stepping into another world. You're not just a visitor here. You seem to inhabit this space, touching the rough stone, smelling the rich, smoky air, and hearing the faint, distant sounds of a world that once lived under these lights. Your reflections turn to the tallow itself, a precious resource in this ancient time. Made from rendered animal fat, it needed to be clean, slow-burning, and reliable. Its use wasn't limited to the humble homes you're exploring now. Long before the present era, tallow illuminated everything from the grandest castles to the smallest village hut. But where wealth was commonplace, so too was the desire for extravagance. Thus the oil lamps covered in such daring art seemed in those times more integral to intimate familiar circles, or hidden alcoves in taverns than in the halls of well-monitored estates. Wandering through these dim corridors in your imagination, your mind plays softly over another question, one yet unsolved by scholars: the mystery of how light, this eternal chase of shadows, transformed social interactions. Did these carvings subtly guide the conversations held in their illumination? Or did they simply watch silently as tales were spun and secrets exchanged? You find yourself immersed in this thought in the way that stories travel, twisting through the air like the smoke from a recently extinguished candle. There are no clear answers, only the lingering scent of mystery and the gentle pull of the past calling you back to delve deeper. Walking in the echoes of this history, you understand that light and shadow have always held the power to shape dreams and reality alike. Somehow, as you let these thoughts wrap around you like a comfortable cloak, the edges of your consciousness blur, and you're drawn deeper into these reveries, feeling their soothing cadence draw you further from the waking world into the soft embrace of timeless tales. The charming simplicity of life, illuminated under the subtle glow of these ancient lights, whispers to you of the countless lives illuminated by their flickering glow, lives filled with their own stories, dreams, and aspirations that faded into memory like the gentle sway of cradle-rocked shadows. You find yourself walking along a bustling street, the sun casting long golden shadows as it begins to dip behind the rooftops. You're in a town that feels like a quaint nook of another era, where cobblestones massage your feet with every step, and you half expect to see horse-drawn carts trundling by. It's here in this charming little setting that you're drawn to a curious incident that involves both a stroke of human folly and the subtle triumph of nature. Imagine, if you will, a building in the heart of this town, a sturdy-looking structure mazy in its architecture as if it holds secrets from both the past and the present. People mill about, each with stories yet untold, and overhead loom rooftops, adorned with an unlikely surprise, goats perched as nonchalantly as cats on a sun-drenched windowsill. It's an odd sight, one that piques your curiosity with its serene absurdity. Now picture the townsfolk clever, but perhaps a touch too reckless, who've taken to storing sacks of grain surreptitiously in the upper rooms of these buildings. Oh, you see, their ambition is simple enough: maximize their warehousing capacity in a world where space, especially good space, can be as costly as it is scarce. But there's a catch, a law that limits what these floors can bear. The town planners had been quite insistent on this rule, though admittedly it was adhered to as loosely as a fairy tale promise. You stroll past an old tavern where the aroma of freshly baked bread drifts temptingly. Its low hum of laughter dies into whispers when you hear about past incidents, the sudden thundering collapse of a floor unexpectedly transforming a secure building into a dramatic scene of chaos. Sacks of grain descended through the wooden planks. 64,000 pounds of material tumbling down in a cascade, with shocked gasps echoing through the corridors. And those goats, they prance lightly across the rooftops, unaware of the strain beneath their hooves. Their additional weight is an anxiety the architects never accounted for. Yet they lend an air of whimsy to the surroundings, like a living painting from a time when life was measured in such heartbeats of unpredictability and joy. You chuckle softly at their audacity, a juxtaposition of risk that seems both reckless and somehow perfectly fitting. As you wander further into the narrative of this town, you are told by a wise, if somewhat conspiratorial voice, that historians still debate whether the phenomenon of rooftop goats was widespread or merely a quirk of this particular locale. It is a tantalizing ambiguity, this gap in the record of history, where facts dissolve into folklore, where each storyteller's inflection adds another layer to the truth. There's a calm acceptance here, a shared understanding that the narrative of the past isn't a straight line, but a web of stories. Like a lullaby that's been handed down through generations, each repetition adopting the subtle embellishments of its teller. The evening air is gently cooling, and the street lamps begin to flicker on, ushering you into the gentle embrace of night. The goats are probably being herded back to their rightful pens, and the memory of those collapses joins the suite of tales shared over mugs of hot cider. You're part of this tapestry now, comfortably stitched into its unfolding. As you move towards your own rest, carried by the calming quiet of this storied place, the world seems a little more predictable, one history-rich rooftop at a time. The afternoon sunlight streams through the narrow alleyway of ancient Rome, casting long shadows that stretch like fingers, reaching across the cobblestone streets. You find yourself standing in a throng of people, lined up in front of a grand house, waiting for the patron to open his doors. Each person in line is here for the sportula, a small token of sustenance in the form of bread, a few coins, or if they're lucky, that day theater tickets. You glance around, noticing the mix of emotions etched across the faces of those around you. Some wear expressions of resignation, while others harbor a hope glimmering in their eyes. It's a peculiar balance between dependence and dignity. The sportula system, after all, is a curious institution that binds the wealthy patrons to their clients, and in turn ties different classes together in this ancient dance of give and take. As you shuffle forward, you hear murmurs in the queue, snippets of conversation floating around you like gentle waves. "I hear he sometimes gives out tickets to the Colosseum," says a weathered man beside you, his face creased with the map of 1,000 stories, each line telling its own tale. Another chimes in her voice laced with sarcasm. Oh joy, so we can watch the gladiators while our bellies remain empty. Historians still debate whether the system truly benefited the poor or simply perpetuated their reliance on the wealthy. You can't help but wonder if the benevolence of these patrons was genuine charity or just a performance. The latter possibility somehow casts a shadow over the opulent villas lining Rome's illustrious avenues. As the line inches forward, the anticipation builds, and you imagine what it must be like inside those gilded halls, where decisions that influence your daily survival are casually made. The sportula serves as a lifeline, a small reprieve from the uncertainties that define the lives of those in the lower rungs of society. The sun is beginning its slow descent, painting the sky with hues of amber and crimson, when finally the doors swing open. The crowd presses forward, a gentle yet insistent wave, guided by their collective need. You feel a mix of tension and excitement, the kind that comes when every step brings you closer to a brief respite from your struggles. Inside, servants manage the distribution, their movements efficient and practiced. Bread still warm is handed out, steam rising from its crust like a silent offering. Coins jingle softly as they drop into eager hands. Occasionally, a coveted theater ticket appears, received with the kind of reverence usually reserved for divine blessings. As you receive your small portion, you can't help but note the absurdity on one hand, sustenance on the other, entertainment. The bread fills your belly, but you wonder if the theater fills your spirit in a way that makes the hunger bearable, at least for an evening. On a good day, perhaps, when echoes of laughter and gasps from an audience transport you even briefly out of your reality, you clutch your share tightly, feeling the solidness of the bread and the cool, unfamiliar texture of a theater ticket. Questions linger in your mind. Is this a fair trade-off, accepting small gestures of goodwill in place of true equity? Does the thrill of a night at the theater justify the constant hum of uncertainty? As the day fades to night and the streets begin to clear, you walk away from the now closed doors, your steps echoing on the cobblestones, your thoughts a swirling tide. Rome, with all its grandeur and grit, continues to evolve around you, a city where the lines between charity and necessity blur, and where each choice leads you deeper into its intricate historical tapestry. Imagine a soft early morning light creeping through narrow windows as you awake in a bustling world, much like your own, yet dusted with the quaint peculiarities of history. You find yourself in a time when city streets are alive with the echoes of carriage wheels against cobbles, the warm aroma of fresh bread drifting from corner bakeries. But amidst this charm lies a stirring undercurrent of change, an unsettling whisper through the neighborhood. As you wander along, you notice the unusual sight of agents, unsmiling and brisk in their movements, marking doors with conspicuous symbols. Their presence is tangible, creating a veil of unease, as the freshly inked marks are unmistakably ominous. These are signs of eviction, you quickly gather as huddled groups of tenants cast wary glances toward the men, toting authority in their heavy coats. These marked doors serve as tawdry badges of uncertainty, signaling not just an eviction notice, but a grim countdown 8 days to uproot livelihoods and pack away countless histories secreted within modest rooms. The short deadline breathes anxiety into the air, a tense energy that unsettles even the staunchest hearts. Among the tenants, a response slowly brews like a quiet rebellion tinged with wit and defiance. They channel their growing unease into the realm of verses, crafting satirical poems intended to shame their indifferent landlords. As you read the verses, you can almost hear the lilt of clever rhymes, pointed sharp and soaked with a humorous despair only those pressed to the edge of desperation can muster. Whether these compositions have any measurable impact is a matter of historical conjecture. After all, historians still debate whether an eloquent verse ever truly changed a heart or mind. Yet within this uncertainty lies a shimmer of hope. As neighbors gather in dimly lit kitchens, sharing drafts and hearty laughs amidst the dread. Laughter thin veils, shielding against worries, resonates through the thin walls like a song. You overhear a snippet spoken with a chuckle, a tenant jesting about the absurdity of not surviving the end of the week if their penmanship doesn't sway the landlords. It's a surreal sentiment that rings with both fear and levity, akin to a survival tale where community bonds are as vital as bread and water. In these times, the humor laced through hardship becomes a daunting yet gentle companion, offering solace in the knowing glances exchanged over supper or passed between friends as they brush shoulders in the chilled air. This camaraderie becomes a thread woven through the tapestry of challenge, binding the community tighter, even as forces of displacement loom. And as you lean into the rhythm of this delicate yet resilient life, you are reminded that history is often felt in whispers just as much as it is carved in shouts. The moments of laughter and sighs hang in the same balance as the stark reality of eviction and displacement. While the sweeping narratives of upheaval might not always capture it, there exists a stark beauty in the resilience etched in satirical lines upon scraps of paper softly passed from hand to hand. In this medley of uncertainty, your heart is encouraged to continue beat by steady beat amidst a world where tomorrow shows no promises but carries the weight of hope and perhaps a well-timed rhyme or two. Raindrops gently cascade down, weaving together a delicate tapestry of sound that echoes through the ancient city. The rhythmic patter plays against the roofs of old dwellings, reminiscent of a long-forgotten melody. You walk along the cobblestone paths, the wet stones glistening underfoot, and notice a dog lapping up from a shallow puddle. The water ripples as the dog's tongue darts in and out, refreshing itself under the dim glow of a nearby brazier. Braziers, once the epicenter of warmth and light in this era, now cast long, soft shadows as their embers flicker lazily. The air is warm, with the smell of smoldering wood mixing with the fresh scent of the rain. This combination creates a fragrance both comforting and familiar. Even in the tranquil wash of rain, there is a gentle sense of companionship amongst the creatures and structures that surround you. Aqueducts once filled with rushing streams that delivered life-giving water to the inhabitants of this ancient city stand silent now. Their tiled surfaces, once polished smooth by torrents, now host delicate taps of rain. They have stories to tell, if only the raindrops could speak for them. These aqueducts were architectural marvels of their time, delivering water over vast distances and serving as a testament to human ingenuity. In moments like these, you are reminded of stories from the past tales of rain, believed to be laden with messages from the gods. These divine omens were said to alter destinies or offer insight into the unknown. Historians still debate whether these legends hold any truth or were simply crafted by imaginative minds of old. Nevertheless, the idea that rain might carry whispers from the heavens seems plausible when the world is this serenely beautiful. As you continue your stroll through the soft drizzle, you encounter remnants of ancient inscriptions carved into stones, their meanings becoming hazy over the millennia. Such was the intricacy and dedication to craft that even today, many of these markings remain, albeit weathered. Scholars ponder whether these etchings recorded divine messages, or perhaps were mere record of daily life. It's a question that might never find a definitive answer, yet it fuels imaginations and keeps the past alive. The path opens up to a garden, its vegetation lush and vibrant, as the rain nourishes every leaf and petal. Life thrives here with plants swaying gently, as if dancing to an unheard tune composed by the rain. The energy of this garden feels reassuring, a reminder of nature's relentless cycle and its quiet resilience. Reflecting on this tapestry of nature and history, you imagine what life might have been walking under this same sky, hearing the same rain. Each drop on your skin feels like a connection to those who walked before you, experiencing the same timeless essence. Tonight, as you wander these ancient pathways, let the tranquil sound of rain guide you into dreams composed of distant worlds, divine mysteries, and the gentle embrace of history's whisper. The journey has soothed you into a peaceful daze, the gentle rhythm of rain becoming a lullaby. As you tread lightly over the wet stones, let your thoughts drift like the tender droplets that have become your companions. Allow the story woven from history and imagination to carry you softly into sleep. Rest now knowing that you have traversed the echoes of a world both ancient and new.